Chapter 21 You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Husband, come back home for dinner. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Tears welled up in Yen Shi's eyes. She closed these open documents. Who is my husband's attending physician? Mr. Kohler, he's the attending physician of the neurosurgery department. However, he's only helping President Gu with recovery guidance. Kohler was the most famous doctor in this field. He had once said that it was impossible for Gu Shen's leg to recover completely. He could only use some rehabilitation exercises to do some basic recovery. I understand. Yen Shi sighed and said very seriously, I've been reading books in this area recently, so I'll definitely be able to help you. Gu Yen did not discourage Yen Shi because reading was better than causing trouble. In the afternoon, Gu Shen went to the office. Yen Shi logged on to the medical website and browsed through the information and surgical videos regarding neurosurgery. The video emphasized that nerve damage was irreversible, but Yen Shi felt that the current medical technology made it impossible for people to discover more possibilities. The human body was very magical. Even in her original world, no one had studied it thoroughly. When Yen Shi got busy, she forgot the time. It was only when the helper called her to eat that she realized it was already 7 o'clock. She stretched lazily, opened the door, and calmly walked downstairs. Xiaolan, who was ready to be lectured, was stunned. Madam did not scold her today. She secretly raised her head and looked at Yen Shi curiously. Xiaolan. Yen Shi teased her. She shivered and quickly stood up. She asked nervously, Madam, what can I do for you? Go cook some dumplings, huh? Xiaolan was a little confused. Do you want to eat dumplings? But the cook has already prepared food for you. It's not for me. Yen Shi smiled. It's for the thief who came in. When she reached downstairs, Yen Shi realized that Gu Shen was not back yet. She asked Gu Yen for Gu Shen's number and called him. At this moment, Gu Shen was in the middle of a meeting in the conference room. The assistant stood on the stage and reported on the matters regarding the land in Jean Senator. The people sitting on both sides listened absent-mindedly, thinking about what to eat later. A sudden ringtone sounded in the conference room, and the assistant on stage paused. Who was it? Everyone became spirited, their eyes searching for this little unlucky fellow. President Gu had explicitly prohibited the cell phone from being brought to the meeting room. Not only did this person bring it in, but he also caused such a huge commotion. His bonus for the past few months would probably go down the drain. As they gloated, they saw Gu Shen pick up his phone. The call was answered. A clear and lively female voice came from the phone. Hubby, are you still busy? When are you coming back for dinner? Hubby. Women. The few people in the meeting room secretly exchanged glances, all of them excited. Eating was nothing compared to the CEO's gossip. Yen Shi saw that Gu Shen did not speak and thought that he did not hear her. She continued, Hubby, are you listening? Did I disturb you? Her voice was soft and sexy. Gu Shen frowned and turned off the speaker. I'm listening. He paused, then added emotionlessly, I'm still in a meeting. I'll be back soon. You're still in a meeting so late at night? Yen Shi mumbled something, then said, then I'll wait for you. Be careful on the way. Her voice was light and her tone at the end of the sentence was raised. It was obvious that she was a young lady. All right. A smile flashed across his eyes and he became much gentler. After hanging up, Gu Shen put his phone away. That's all for today. We'll continue tomorrow. With that, he left the meeting room first. The group of people who were thinking about what to eat just now did not leave. They sat on the spot and screamed silently as they watched Gu Shen leave the room. Chapter 22 You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Making Appointment Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations, is that President Gu's wife. The woman in the sexy dress stretched. I didn't expect President Gu to be married. Looks like she's an obedient wife. Another person teased. Looks like President Gu has been trapped. I wish Mrs. Chi would call every day so we don't have to attend all these tedious meetings. When Gu Shen arrived home, it was already an hour later. The sky was dark and it was the first time he felt a sense of anticipation for going back home. The moment he entered, he saw Yan Shi sleeping on the sofa with a small blanket covering her, revealing only her palm-sized face. She heard his movements and opened her eyes groggily. You're home. She sat up. Perfect. Let's eat. You haven't eaten. Yan Shi said matter-of-factly, I'm waiting for you. Gu Shen paused for a moment and explained, there was a traffic jam on the road and I was delayed. It's okay. I have nothing to do at home. Yan Shi walked to Gu Shen's side and suddenly realized something. Are you explaining to me? Yeah. Yan Shi immediately smiled. Her eyes were curved like crescents, and when the light fell in, she looked extremely beautiful. Gu Shen glanced at her and felt that Yan Shi was too easy to coax. He thought about it and said, Gu'er will send you my schedule later. If it's too late, don't wait for me. What if I want to see you? You can make an appointment with Gu'er for the time outside the schedule. When Yan Shi heard this, she was so angry that she almost laughed. An appointment? Does everyone have to make an appointment to see you? Yes, but I might not approve their appointments. So you'll approve mine. Gu Shen didn't realize that he said what he was not supposed to say. Not really. It depends on whether I am available at that moment. Mr. Gu. Yan Shi stood in front of Gu Shen and slightly bent down, her gaze level with Gu Shen's. I think you might have forgotten something. I'm your wife, the person closest to you, not people who have nothing to do with you. If I want to see you, I should just send you a message and call you, not making an appointment through Gu'er. Gu Shen realized that something was wrong. Then I'll let Gu'er, Yan Shi cut him off. Screw Gu'er. Can't I just call you directly? Sure. Gu Shen said, I'll try my best to answer your calls. Yan Shi was speechless. What kind of man was her husband? He made love sound like a job. Yan Shi was a little pissed off by that. Gu Shen turned on his phone and placed Yan Shi at the top. Because of the wound on her upper jaw, Yan Shi ate very slowly and even frowned from time to time. Did you apply for the medicine today? Yan Shi shook her head. That medicine is so bitter. I'd rather be in pain. Anyway, I'll recover after some time. Next time, ask the cook to make it blander and cut the vegetable smaller. Okay. In the kitchen, Xiaolan was telling Xiaoye what just happened. I was really scared just now. Who would have thought that Madam would wake up in the middle of the night to cook dumplings? She must have heard everything we said. Xiaoye was also puzzled. Then why didn't she make things difficult for you or kick us out? Maybe she wants to make us stay and slowly torture us, Xiaolan wailed. I won't dare to speak nonsense again. Who knew that Madam was so stupid? She doesn't even know how to cook dumplings. Chapter 23 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Take off your pants translator. Henyi Translations editor. Henyi Translations After dinner, Gu Yan pushed Gu Shen back to his room. He said, Madam asked me for your diagnosis and recovery records today, so I took the liberty of giving them to her. It's fine. Gu Shen did not mind. Let her be. Gu Yan left after pushing him in. Gu Shen took off his suit and shirt that had been restricting him for a day. He had just unbuttoned a few buttons when someone knocked on the door again. He thought that Gu Yan had something urgent to tell him, so he casually said, Come in. Yan Shi carried a bunch of bottles and jars. She opened the door with difficulty and walked in sideways. I'll help you. The rest of the words automatically disappeared when she saw Gu Yan. Yen Shi knew that as a supporting actor, Gu Shen's figure was definitely not bad, but she did not expect him to be so good. His abdominal muscles were obvious and his lines were smooth. His Apollo's belt was hidden in his lower body and it was extremely tempting. Yen Shi blushed but she could bring herself to look away. "What are you doing here?" Gu Shen pulled his shirt down. Yen Shi's face turned even redder and she stuttered. I'm here to give you a massage." She pointed at Gu Shen's leg. "A massage won't work through your pants. Quickly take off your pants." Her last words were filled with eagerness, making Gu Shen frown. "You want to massage me now?" Yen Shi covered her nose. "I can wait until you're done showering." Her eyes lit up. "Do you need my help?" "I'm very good at scrubbing." Gu Shen's eyebrows twitched. He was angry and helpless. After a while, he asked, "How are you going to help?" "That's very simple. I'll take off your clothes." Her voice became softer and softer as she spoke. Gu Shen scoffed. "All right, go out first. Come back later." "Ha." Yen Shi sounded a little disappointed. "Aren't you going to give me a chance?" "Then I'll wait outside. If something happens, I can go in and take care of you." "Go fill up the tub," Gu Shen said. Yen Shi turned around to leave, but Gu Shen stopped her. "The bathroom is right there." Gu Shen's bathroom was very big. There was a huge jacuzzi placed at the side. The right side of the tub was specially installed with handrails so that Gu Shen could grab it easily. In front of the bathtub was a platform that was as flat as it was. On it were some books and documents. On the opposite wall was a large projector screen. The person who designed the bathroom moved in everything he could think of. Taking a bath here was like taking a hot spring vacation. Yen Shi adjusted the water temperature and waited for the water to take up 2/3 of the bathtub before stopping. "Hubby! Come in and take a bath," she exclaimed excitedly. "Come out first. I'll be more relieved watching you from the side. If you slide down, I can still carry you, there's no such possibility." Gu Shen brushed his fringe up, his eyes sharp. "Go out first." "Fine." Yen Shi gave in and said, "If there's anything, remember to call me." Gu Shen grabbed the handrails and moved into the bathtub. For some reason, Yen Shi's appearance suddenly flashed across his mind. Her slender wrist and exquisite face. Gu Shen wondered if Yen Shi was pretending to be unaware of what she was doing or not. He thought of the scene of her teasing him and the feeling of her pressing against his leg. Gu Shen felt a surge of heat rise up his body. He licked his lips and opened his eyes. Yen Shi did not stay idle outside either. She took out the massage essential oil and found a bottle of body lotion. She was trying to find an excuse to apply it on Gu Shen's abs later. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is it on? Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. When Gu Shen came out, Yen Shi was still in the room, fiddling with the hairdryer in her hand. When she saw Gu Shen come out, she immediately waved. "Come quickly, I'll blow dry your hair." With his wet hair hanging down, Gu Shen looked much softer and gentler. He pushed the wheelchair and stopped beside Yen Shi. Normally, Gu Shen would not let Yen Shi touch his head while holding something. But now, he agreed. The sound of the hairdryer was heard. A warm breeze blew past Gu Shen's hair and took away the water vapor. "If it's hot, tell me." Gu Shen did not reply. He sat in silence until his hair was dry. "It's done." Yen Shi touched Gu Shen's hair. "It's all dry." She couldn't wait to say, "Hurry up and get on the bed. I'll message you." Yen Shi helped Gu Shen onto the bed. He was half lying down and his legs were casually placed together. Gu Shen lowered his eyes to look at Yen Shi. He watched as she applied something to her hand. Then, she bent her fingers and used her joints to press on the acupuncture points on his leg. I'm a little strong. If you're not feeling painful, remember to tell me. I can't feel anything on my leg. It doesn't matter how much strength you use. There will be. She patted him lightly as if to comfort him. She pressed on his acupuncture points from his calf. The essential oil covered his entire thigh, which looked shiny under the light. When her fingers reached his thigh, she would occasionally touch against something in the middle. When it was touched, Gu Shen skipped a beat. He tried to control himself, but the penis was still hardened uncontrollably. She was stunned. Why is it so hard? She reached her hand forward and felt the hot air on it. Her face turned red and she stopped messaging. After a while, she asked softly, "Do you want me to help you?" "No need." Gu Shen's voice was hoarse and heavy. "Just leave. Then I'll continue tomorrow." "Yeah." She could not be bothered to clean up the bottles. She left them with Gu Shen and ran out in a flurry. The two of them did not sleep well that night. Gu Shen's face showed rare signs of fatigue. Even Gu Yan could not help but ask, "What did you do last night?" "I just didn't sleep well." Gu Shen frowned. "Shall I put some sleeping aromatherapy on your bedroom tonight?" "No need." Gu Shen refused. "When is the psychiatrist coming?" "In the afternoon. Are you going to the office or working at home?" "Prepare the car and head to the office." When Gu Shen was in the company, everything was normal. However, once he left, the people started discussing. "What did President Gu do last night? Why does he look so tired?" "Well, I don't think he is tired. It looks more like he is not satiated." With his wife, the few of them looked at each other and instantly understood each other. "We've been ordered around by President Gu for such a long time. Finally, someone is able to order President Gu around. Who exactly is Mrs. Qi? I'm really curious." The person beside her made a shushing gesture. "Keep your voice down. I'll ask someone in the president's office later." The person in the president's office was also clueless. When Gu Shen wasn't around, they discussed softly. "President Gu hit her well. If it wasn't for the phone call yesterday, we wouldn't have known that he's married." "Forget it, can't you see President Gu's expression today? Only when Madam is in a good mood can we have an easy time here in the company." Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A huge change translator. Henyi Translations editor. Henyi Translations. Gu Shen didn't know what he was hiding from. He ate lunch at the company before returning home. At 2 in the afternoon, the psychologist that they had arranged to meet came on time and was led to the living room on the second floor by Gu Yan. "Dr. Pei." Gu Yan slightly bent down and made a guiding gesture. "President Gu is waiting for you inside." "Okay." This was not the first time Pei Ling had come here. He had done many psychological counseling sessions for Gu Shen. When he was overseas, he heard that this patient was very difficult to deal with. Initially, he wanted to give it a try. He did not expect Gu Shen to keep him and make him his permanent psychologist. Opening the door, a smile immediately appeared on Pei Ling's face, creating a safe and comfortable atmosphere. "Mr. Gu." His voice was warm and comforting. "You seem to be in a good mood. What have you encountered recently?" Gu Shen gestured for him to sit opposite him. As he listened to Pei Ling's words, Yan Shi's figure instinctively came across his mind. He thought about many things, but in the end, he only said, "I'm fine. As long as you're happy. Then let's begin today's psychological counseling." The consultation time was 1 hour. Since it had been a long time since that car accident, Gu Shen's mental state was relatively stable. So 1 hour was quite enough. Soon, Pei Ling came to a conclusion that surprised him a little. "Your mental state has been very good recently, and you haven't suffered from insomnia. I hope you can maintain it." Gu Shen was slightly surprised. Okay. Is it okay for you to tell me what makes your mental state so good recently? Gu Shen didn't want to go into that, so he started another topic. Dr. Pei, can people transform completely in a short time? Pei Ling understood what Gu Shen meant and did not continue asking. Instead, he followed his topic. Which aspect are you referring to? Gu Shen played with the pen in his hand. Character, habits, temperament. There are many changes. It's a complete transformation. Pei Ling's interest was piqued. Can you tell me in detail? She's become more open and frank than before. She's also much smarter when she speaks and does things. She even knows how to respect people. Gu Shen paused and did not say the last half of his sentence, which was, also, she became very cute. She's developing in a good direction. This is a good thing. But why? Pei Ling explained patiently. Generally speaking, a huge stimulation in amnesia can change a person's mental state. On this basis, a change in behavior and personality is very common. Yan Shi did not lose her memory, so a huge stimulation was the only explanation. Was it because of the knife she stabbed herself with or because of Zhang Ming? Whichever it was, it made Gu Shen unhappy. Is this change reversible? Will she change back? Sorry, I'm not too sure about that. After the counseling session ended, Pei Ling left with Gu Yan, who was waiting at the door. When the two of them passed by the living room, they saw Yan Shi sitting at the table and arranging flowers. She shot them a glance. Her eyes were innocent and she did not seem scheming at all. It was as Gu Shen said, a huge change had happened. Gu Yan bowed to Yan Shi. Madam. Pei Ling nodded and greeted Yan Shi. According to the host's memory, this was Gu Shen's counselor. He would counsel Gu Shen every week. He must know more than her. Yan Shi smiled and walked up to him. Hello, can you give me your contact number? Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Are you jealous? Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Gu Yan's eyes widened. He immediately thought of Zhang Ming and quickly stopped Yan Shi. Madam. His tone was laced with warning and accusation. This is President Gu's counselor. You can't. Yan Shi was helpless. The host's persecution towards this group of people was so deep that it forced them to be anxious. What are you thinking? I know this is my husband's counselor. I just want to ask about my husband's current situation through him. Gu Yan still did not believe it, but he was struck by an idea. How about us three starting a group chat? If you have anything to ask it there. Yan Shi was so angry that she wanted to laugh. On the surface, she agreed, but then she added Pei Ling's WeChat. Yesterday was too awkward, but Yan Shi already said that she would massage him every day. She could not go back on her words. She knocked on the door and only entered after obtaining his permission. Gu Shen was already lying on the bed. He was wearing dark-colored pajamas and the ends of his hair were still wet. It seemed like he had just taken a shower. Seeing that it was Yan Shi, a curl appeared on his cold face. What are you doing here? Massage. Yan Shi took out the bottles and jars in an imposing manner to show that she was calm. There's no need to take off your pants this time. We're not in that kind of relationship. Yan Shi said, just expose your legs. Gu Shen looked at her with dark eyes. I don't need it. I need it. Yan Shi blinked and looked at Gu Shen. Boss, just take pity on me. I haven't had a customer today and you're the first one. Then quick. Gu Shen could not resist her pair of eyes that seemed to be able to speak. Thank you, boss. Remember to give me a good review later. Yan Shi rolled up his pants and two strong legs appeared in front of her. As usual, she pressed on the acupuncture points on it with a serious expression, as if she was doing the most important thing in the world. Gu Shen looked down at Yan Shi's side face, his heart calm. The answer to everything Pei Ling asked today was Yan Shi. The room fell silent. Gu Shen suddenly said, "You added Pei Ling on WeChat today." His voice was flat as if he did not care about this matter. Yes. Yan Shi didn't even raise her head and continued to massage with all her heart. Why? I want to know about you. If you don't tell me, I'll have to ask someone else. Gu Shen pursed his lips unhappily. You can ask me. Yan Shi finally raised her head. Her eyes were sparkling like a puppy that had been rewarded. Are you jealous? No, it's fine even if you admit it. Yan Shi gave him the phone. The password is your birthday. You can delete those men in my WeChat. She said it unwaveringly. Gu Shen stared at the phone for a while. He hesitated for a long time before taking it. After a while, he asked, Yan Shi, when is my birthday? The 17th of April. Gu Shen suppressed his anger and corrected her. It's the 7th of April. That was awkward. She even remembered her husband's birthday wrong. Yan Shi froze. Would you believe me if I said I didn't do it on purpose? Remember it in the future, Gu Shen said as he gave back the phone. He did not have the habit of looking through other people's privacy. Yan Shi smiled and said, I've remembered it. She pointed at her chest. I've remembered it here. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Family Banquet Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Yan Shi massaged for half an hour. When it ended, her hands were sore. She shook her hands and asked in a customary manner, do you feel anything? Gu Shen shook his head. It was just a massage. How could it cure his leg? Yan Shi was not disappointed. Next time, there will be. I'll go back first. Gu Shen nodded. Good night. Yan Shi did not return to her room. Instead, she went straight to the cloakroom to choose the clothes for tomorrow's family banquet. Since it was a family banquet, she could not dress casually or overdress. She picked for a long time before finding 3 satisfactory long dresses. Yan Shi could not make up her mind, so she carried them to find Gu Shen. Gu Shen didn't sleep either. When he saw her come back, he looked up and asked, what are you doing here? Help me choose the dress. Yan Shi threw the 3 dresses on the bed arrogantly. Which one looks better? Gu Shen was still looking at the document. You can decide for yourself. No, Yan Shi climbed onto his bed and took away the document in Gu Shen's hand. As a husband, you should help your wife choose her clothes. Gu Shen threw a look at them and chose the green silk dress. Yan Shi leaned over and kissed Gu Shen on the cheek. Hubby really has good taste. The next day, Yan Shi changed into that dress. The swaying skirt was like a small river illuminated by the sun, calm and dazzling. The makeup girl was carefully choosing the makeup for Yan Shi while asking her if she had any requests. Xiaolan stood at the back and couldn't help but whimper. Madam is so beautiful. If she didn't let me cook dumplings, she'd look even prettier. Keep your voice down. Madam might ask you to wash the toilet tomorrow, Xiaoya stopped her. Actually, cooking dumplings was not a big deal. On the contrary, it was very relaxing. However, the 2 of them were still on tenterhooks and were afraid that Yan Shi would take action against them if she was unhappy. Yan Shi wanted to tell them that their voices were really loud. After putting on her makeup, Yan Shi went downstairs to look for Gu Shen. He was still wearing a suit, but the color of the square neckcloth was exactly the same as her long dress. Yan Shi smiled and her eyes curved. Is this a couple's outfit? Just to reassure grandfather, he said evenly. Gu Yi, who was behind him, remained silent. In order to find this square neckcloth yesterday, he had gone to several shops and bought over 50 sets from which Gu Shen chose one. Yan Shi was still happy. Let's go then. Don't waste time, Ednel.co. The Gu family's banquet was definitely not just a simple meal. Under the calm surface, there were surging torrents. However, it was not surprising at all. Even ordinary families would end up killing each other just for some petty money, let alone the rich and powerful Gu family. Everyone wanted to take a portion of the family assets. She still remembered the writer's description of the Gu family. It was wealthy enough to compete with a nation and powerful enough to compete with a king. The Gu family's company had already been established since the last century. After many decades of development, its business was now all over the world. There were also many industries under the company, and every one of them could bring huge benefits to the Gu family. Now that the Gu family was under the control of Old Master Gu, Gu Hai. Whoever was favored by Gu Hai would be a step closer to obtaining the inheritance, but whoever was disliked by Gu Hai would be treated with disdain in the family. And today's family banquet was to welcome Gu Cheng, the junior that Old Master Gu valued the most, so there would definitely be many people. However, this kind of fight for power did not have much to do with Gu Shen at the moment. He had just gotten hold of a few small companies of the Gu family, and his authority was pathetically low. Gu Shen was Old Master Gu's biological grandson, but he was treated nothing like Gu Cheng. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Anti-translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations to Yan Shi. This was not only a family dinner but also her first time meeting her husband's banquet, so she was a little nervous. Gu Shen noticed it and said softly, "Don't worry. You don't have to care about what they say. I'll handle it." There was a reason why Gu Shen said that. The first time she attended the family banquet, the host was mocked by her aunties. Strangely enough, none of the memories she received from the host was a happy memory. "I'm not worried." Yan Shi took a deep breath. "Because you're here." The banquet had yet to begin and the people who had already arrived were chatting in the main hall. Amongst them were Old Master Gu's eldest son and eldest daughter, Gu Ling. The moment Gu Shen entered, many people looked over. Gu Ling also shot him a look, but she quickly retracted her gaze and smiled. "Shen is here. Since it's not convenient for you to move around, you don't have to bother yourself to come all the way here." No one knew if the last part of what she said was well-intentioned or not. Guan frowned and chided her in a low voice, "Auntie, don't say that about fourth brother." Gu Ling rolled her eyes and tried to smooth things over. "Auntie was so excited to see you just now, so I said something inappropriate. You're definitely welcomed here. What have you been busy with recently?" Gu Shen's tone was cold. "Nothing. Just some company matters." "Small matters, right?" Gu Lingji said sarcastically as she brushed her hair. "You're already a grown man, yet you only know how to talk about small businesses that don't hurt. Some time ago, your younger cousin managed to negotiate a big business independently. As his older brother, you can't let him upstage you. If you want, you can go and seek advice from him. Younger brother is indeed capable." Gu Shen was already used to this kind of scene, but Yan Shi was furious. The hand holding the wheelchair suddenly tightened, and her fingertips turned white. Gu Shen noticed this and gently patted Yan Shi's hand. Naturally, Gu Ling noticed her fury as well. Her sight moved slowly to Yan Shi. She could put up with it when Gu Shen talked back to her, but she could not possibly put up with it when such an insignificant person like Yan Shi wanted to talk back to her. "Yan Shi is here too. I heard that you were injured a while ago. Are you feeling better now?" "I'm better. Thank you for your concern, Auntie." Gu Ling laughed, "I can tell you're feeling better. Otherwise, you wouldn't have caused such a ruckus at the Yan clan's banquet. I don't know how your mood is today, but you'd better not cause any trouble here." If it was Yan Shi in the past, she would have definitely lost control of herself and started cursing at her madly. But now, she was calm and responded with a graceful smile. "Auntie, you must be joking. Speaking of which, I learned that from you." I remember that back then you went to the Lin family's banquet and caused a huge ruckus, forcing him to marry you. She covered her mouth and continued, giggling, luckily, that person from the Lin family isn't here today. Otherwise, the entire Gu family would be thrown into chaos by you. Guan burst out laughing as he listened from the side. Yan Shi, is what you said true? Why don't I know about it? Guan asked. She didn't care that Gu Ling was actually there as well. Of course it's true. Guan only found out about this matter a few years later. The Miss Lin who competed with her always used this to belittle her. She then looked at Gu Ling with an innocent expression, Auntie, don't be angry. I was just joking with you. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Little Angel Female Lead Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Gu Ling gritted her teeth, why are you bringing up the past? I couldn't remember it at first, but Auntie reminded me. Auntie has such a good memory. While the others were still holding back, Guan laughed out loud. Yan Shi instantly grew fond of this girl. She was indeed old Master Gu's favorite granddaughter who was more daring than anyone else. With Gu Ling as an example, no one dared to approach them. Yan Shi pushed Gu Shen to the side and found a seat herself. Even though she made Gu Ling piss off, Yan Shi was still unhappy. She said angrily, ignore what she said just now. You're much better than your brother. Gu Shen did not expect that the first thing she would do was to console herself. I'm fine. He smiled, and his eyes rippled with affection as he softened. Not mad either. Yan Shi suddenly covered her face. The tips of her ears were frighteningly red. Stop smiling. She suppressed her voice and shouted, you can smile when we are back at home. Fourth brother, fourth sister. In law. Guan was the first to greet them. She sat beside Yan Shi and asked curiously, fourth sister. In law, how did you know about what my aunt did in the past? Everyone in the Lin family knows about this, but they just don't dare to tell you guys in person. That means that other than our Gu family, everyone else knows. That is a bit exaggerated. Guan patted her chest. I'm relieved then. Don't take Auntie's words to heart. She'll feel terrible if she doesn't troll people. Yan Shi smiled and replied, okay. She was indeed the little angel in the book. As the female lead in the book, Gu En's life could be said to be filled with ups and downs. About 2 years later, her soul would be stripped away by her scumbag ex-boyfriend. She would walk around in the rain and save a scheming boy, Yi Nan, the illegitimate son of the second most powerful family in the book. Yi Nan initially wanted to make use of Guan, but after spending a long time with her, he could not help but fall in love with her. After a long time, the two of them finally learned how to properly handle their relationship. After that, at the awards ceremony of the International Film Festival, Guan held her Best Actress award and accepted the proposal of the newly appointed master of the Yi family, Yi Nan. Her love and career were all successful and everyone was envious of her. Fourth sister. In law. Guan nudged her again. You look really good today, so can you add my WeChat? Yan Shi naturally would not reject it. Sure. Looking at Yan Shi, who was chatting happily with Guan, Gu Shen felt ignored and was strangely unhappy. The conversation between the two was interrupted by the butler beside old Master Gu. He walked past the group of seniors in the Gu family and stopped beside Yan Shi. Fourth madam. The butler nodded slightly to show his respect. Master Gu invites you to the study room. Me. Yan Shi was a little puzzled. What for? Gu Shen frowned. I'll go with you. The butler rejected Gu Shen's request. I'm sorry, fourth master. Old master only invited fourth madam. Yan Shi stood up. I'll go over first. She said to Gu Shen, don't worry. Fourth sister. In law, you don't have to be afraid. Guan comforted her. Grandpa is very kind and won't bully fourth sister. Law. Yen she thought that only Guan, who was loved by old Master Gu, would say that he was a kind person. Chapter 30 You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Cardiac Arrest Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Yen she was a little nervous as she followed the butler upstairs. Her heart was pounding as if she had made a mistake and was called to the office by the form principal. When they reached the study, the butler opened the door. This way, please. Yen she was nervous about meeting old Master Gu alone. In the book, old Master Gu, Gu Hai, was like a living king of hell. He was born in a military and political family, but later, he took over the Gu family and started doing business. He was also a man of few words and smiles. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter and had many grandchildren, but only Guan could feel the love of a grandfather from him. Have a seat. Gu Hai's voice was rough and sounded intimidating. Yen she sat down and waited for Gu Hai to continue. I called you here because I wanted to ask you about what happened between you and Gu Shen. Gu Hai poured 2 cups of tea. He always refused to tell the truth, so I could only call you here. She would have to bear the consequences of what the host did. Yen she said, please ask. Gu Hai went straight to the point. Why did you get injured a while ago? He had been in power for a long time. Even if he didn't force her to speak, she still felt frightened. I cut myself with a knife. Why? Did Gu Shen treat you badly? No, Gu Shen is very good to me. Since she couldn't avoid this question, Yen she admitted, I was stupid and couldn't see through him. Zhang Ming hurt someone, but I still wanted to defend him and wanted Gu Shen to withdraw the lawsuit. Because of this, I got into a fight with Gu Shen and accidentally hurt myself. Young girl, you have a bad temper. Gu Hai poured her a cup of tea. You need to change it. Yes. Yen she thought for a while and continued, before we're constantly quarreling because there were some misunderstandings between us. Since the misunderstanding has been cleared, I will treat Gu Shen wholeheartedly from now on and fulfill the responsibility of a wife. Gu Hai was much more satisfied and his expression relaxed. He said calmly, it's good that the misunderstanding can be resolved. If Gu Shen has done you any wrong, come and tell me. Okay. Yen she smiled obediently, but she did not believe him at all. But Gu Shen lost his parents when he was young. It's not convenient for him to move and he doesn't like to talk sometimes. You should be more tolerant of him sometimes. Yen she nodded and said sincerely, although Gu Shen doesn't like to talk, he cares about me a lot. I don't mind that he's a cripple. It's good that you think that way. Old Master Gu picked up the walking stick beside him. Just as he was about to stand up, he suddenly felt a pain in his chest and his face turned ashen. He widened his eyes and fell to the ground before he could even scream. The incident came too suddenly. Luckily, Yen she was a doctor by trade. She immediately went over to check on Gu Hai's condition, then placed him on the ground. Butler, she shouted. Come here quickly. The butler frowned and was annoyed at Yen she for being rude, but he still pushed the door open and walked in. The moment he entered, the butler saw Gu Hai lying on the ground with a pale face. He panicked. What happened to the master? Cut the crap. If he has any medical history, let me know immediately and get someone to get a doctor. Seeing that Yen she was methodical, the butler was calmer and said. Old master has heart disease. The medicine is in the first drawer under the desk. I'll go call for help now. The butler ran out immediately. Yen she put her hand under Gu Hai's nose and realized that he was still breathing weakly. As long as he was not dead. She then placed her hand on the artery on his neck. For 10 seconds, the artery did not throb. Cardiac arrest. Yen she's eyebrows twitched and she immediately started to give him first aid.